Hello. I thought I would go over card meanings and how I came about approaching that with my work, and why I think there's an advantage to the certain way you perceive the meanings of these cards and how you go about learning them. It could come in handy, and I thought I'd share that with you. What I use is keyword meanings for my meanings, my card meanings. When I first started reading professionally, that was in 93, 92 maybe. I thought in order to read professionally, I should also be able to teach professionally. So I wanted to go into both aspects of that at the same time. But I knew the cards for years, but I'd never read professionally. So I started going into that, and I thought, well, I'm going to start teaching as well. And that would help me with my reading, fine tuning everything to read professionally. And it worked out well. One thing I was noticing is that I didn't like I was never I was shying away from conventional card meanings. I thought it was too involved, too much detail there, too much to grab. And so I came up with keywords for each card. And what I did with that is I looked over about 10 different books on the tarot, and I decided to take all the meanings on all these books and blend it all into one word that would represent that card. Let's say the Fool card, and something that would be agreeable to all those books in one word. And I did that for every card. And I found out it was really something good to do. At the time, they didn't have really that much out there on approaches with just keyword, one word meanings. Now there's stuff out there. But when I started doing it, there wasn't really no real focus on that like there is now. There's more of that today because it really has value. And the reason it has value is because it allows you to come up with your own way of interpreting the card through your eyes. So, in other words, if I tell you, and I do this in a class, if I tell you that the fours, let's say the four swords, I say that represents stability. That's my key word. And I tell you, okay, write down 5 words that would could be associated easily with the word stability, the meaning stability. And there's 10 of you in the class. And so you write down 5 different words that come to mind for you for stability. And we all do that. You're going to find that everybody in that classroom all has different words because they're seeing the word stability through their eyes. They're interpreting the card now. This is a lot better than having you memorize a meaning that I gave you or somebody else gave you. This allows you to come up with your own meanings, your own way of perceiving that card. It would be agreeable with everybody else, but it'll be through your eyes, and not just memorizing what I'm saying the card is. I tell people you'll never read like me, and that's because I'll never read like you. We're all different. We all read differently, and the sooner you start to go into that, the better off you're going to be. So some people get it when after years of learning the cards, they finally realize that they're going to do it their way anyway, and and others can catch on right away because you're going to find your own way of seeing these cards, and they all work. There's no wrong way or wrong interpretation of a card as long as it works for you. But memorizing what I'm saying the card is worth. That's why I don't like sentenced meanings of the cards. 3 or 4 sentences. This card means this, 3 or 4 sentences. I don't like that because then you're memorizing what I'm saying the card means. And that to me is just if you're just doing that, you're going in your mind and think, okay, well, Vince says this card means this, and you're reciting that into reading. That's like doing a horoscope by looking in the paper and seeing what the horoscope reading is. You know, you got it's got to come from you, and that's really what it comes down to. So getting you, if you're a teacher of the tarot, the biggest thing you're trying to teach somebody is how to see the cards through their eyes. Not what I'm saying the card means, but teaching them how to see these cards through what they see as the card meaning. And then letting them know that that meaning is fine. It works. So that's one of the things I do. And I'm going to have a link at the bottom of this in the description area of my card meanings definitions for the major arcana. There's two videos. One's for minor arcana and one's for major arcana. And I'll put them both in there. They've been around a while. They're a popular YouTube on my channel. And if you haven't seen them already, they've been around about 5 years, I think. So if you haven't seen them on my channel, you'll see them now. So there's 78 cards. And today people read them, a lot of people read them reverse meaning as well. So you have a 2 or 3 sentence definition for the upright meaning of each card. And then you have a 2 or 3 sentence definition for the reverse meaning. It's 156 meanings. And if you're using sentence definitions, that's a lot to remember. When I started reading, there was a lot of people, most people, I don't think, used reverse meanings. And a lot of readers just use the major arcana to read. So you'd have a reader that's a very successful reader who's just using 22 major arcana cards, throwing out spreads and doing very well with those readings. So a lot's changed since then. That was 69, 68, somewhere around there. And so yeah, a lot's changed since then. What my situation, what I do is I use the whole deck, but I don't use reverse meanings. So we're back down to 78 cards instead of 156 meanings. We have 78 meanings. But what else I do is I don't use the suit of the minor arcana, or at least I don't use it that much. So the minor arcana is 56 cards. It's 4 suits, ace through 10, and 4 court cards. That's 14 cards per suit. It comes out to 56 cards. But now I'm not using the suit. So all the aces represent the same thing. All the fives, the 5 of swords, 5 of cups, 5 of wands, 5 of pentacles, they're just a 5. They all represent the same thing. And so on with all the cards. The knights, 4 knights, all represent the same thing. The suit doesn't make a difference to me in my readings. So now we have 14 minor arcana definitions for the 56 cards. And we have 22 major arcana definitions for the 22 major arcana. That gives us a total of 36 card meanings. And I use keywords for those 36. So now we have 36 card meanings, keyword meanings. Or you can go with 156 sentence definition meanings. I know what line I'll be in. So it's a lot easier. And you still have an infinite amount of possibilities with this setup that I use. Like I said, there used to be people just use the 22 majors, no reverse meanings, and they found all sorts of things. You don't need all this fluff. You want to use it later, you can use it, but you don't need it. So that's the way I teach it. Now, what's nice about that is, all right, the 22 majors, you have 22 meanings, keyword meanings. And the 22 majors represent some deeper stuff. They represent what I call universal principles or deep metaphysical concepts, things that go beyond just you and me on our everyday lives. I'll use an example like temperance card to me. The temperance card to me represents inspiration. And we could all be inspired about things. But inspiration is something that's not just within us. It's in the world. It's all over. And you can be inspired by a lot of different things. So it's a deep meaning to that word, to that card. And that's how the 22 majors are set up. Different keyword meanings that are very more deeper knowledge. The minor arcana represent our daily lives they're more down to earth. Now, the major arcana might have very deep meanings, but you could tone them down to everyday life for yourself, for the reading you're doing. The minor arcana deals more directly with our everyday lives. And the way I have the minor arcana set up, if you look at the Rider-Waite deck, which you'll see on those videos down below, that's a pretty popular deck. And any other decks that are full artwork, not pips, will be, most of them are inspired by the Rider-Waite as they did their artwork. So they'll be similar to those cards. But you have ace through 10, and then 4 court cards, each suit. I said I don't use the suit. Now, to me, the 4 suits represent the 4 basic functions of consciousness. I think that's started with Carl Jung. And those 4 functions of consciousness are thought, emotion, your spirit, and your material physical world. Thought is seen in the swords, represented by the swords. Your feelings or your emotions are represented in the cups. Your spirit, what moves you, what's in your soul, is represented in the wands. And your physical material world is represented in the coins or the pentacles. And the reason I don't use them, when I started teaching this stuff, and you're doing a card spread and you're explaining to people how it works, and people will say, you got the 3 of swords in a position, and they would look, and you have a question you're looking at, and you're going over this, and they would say, this card would make perfect sense if it wasn't the swords. If it was a cups, it would make more perfect sense. And finally, I just said, you know what? Just forget about the suit. Forget the suit. Just look at the numerical value of the card, and it all starts falling into place. When people come to you with a question, usually it's going to be one of those 4 functions of consciousness is going to be the main one in the question. A relationship, or cups would be that. Emotions, your feelings. A career change, pentacles. Your material physical world. So these are the kind of things that you, people are bringing the suit to you in the reading. And everything you do in your life affects all 4 suits anyway. If I get involved in a relationship, it's obviously going to affect my emotions, but it's also going to affect my thinking, swords. It's going to affect my physical world, the pentacles. And it's going to affect my spirit, my soul, my inspirations, my whole feeling of what I'm about, the wands. So everything we do affects all 4 of those suits. And so I never really take the suit and just limit to one suit. The suits have to be isolated. They don't. It doesn't make any difference to me what the suit is of the card. And the way I do The meanings is if you look at the cards, if, like I said earlier, the Rider-Waite deck, we take ace through 10. And anything you do, you go in the sequence of those 10 cards. And you see it in the images on the Rider-Waite deck and a lot of other decks. And it makes it a lot easier to remember. So aces stand for a new beginning or a new idea, a new concept, something new. And if you decide to move forward, then you have a choice to make. That's the twos. This new thing came to me. I got to decide when I want to move on this. That's the twos, the choice. Lots of times people will come to you for a reading because they're on the fence about something. They can't make a decision. That's the choice, the choice. Twos, choice, represent choice. Threes represent creativity. If you decide to move forward on this idea, the ace, you've taken the choice, you've made the choice to move forward on this. Now you got to create it. That's the threes. Creation, creating. Creativity is my key word for the threes. Twos are the key word for the twos. New idea, new choice, new beginning is is my key word for the aces. So threes, we create this situation. And then after that, what comes is the fours. And after the fours are stability. After it's been created, now it's stable. Now we stabilize it. Now it becomes very predictable, very routine, structured. We got everything in place now. And then after that comes the fives. Fives are usually shown as a disruption of some type. Fives are change. So somehow the fours got disrupted here. And this is going to happen in anything we do. There's going to be challenges along the way. A monkey wrench is going to get thrown into the mix. And we're going to be tested on what we're doing about this. We have to deal with this change that happened, this circumstance that happened, and we have to resolve it. So that's the fives, the change. It changes the stable fours. And after that comes the sixes. Sixes are overcoming this challenge. So this change came in, we got through it. We picked ourselves up by our bootstraps, we got through it. However that happened to be, we made it and we adjusted and we got through this. After that, that's what sixes are. I have that as overcoming obstacles. After that come the sevens. If you're still in this same situation that right from the start with the aces, and you've gone through this change and you're still involved in the same thing, and you just didn't walk away from it with the sixes, you've overcome this with the sixes. So that means you've been successful with it. And the sevens are shows confidence. Sevens are confidence. Because now you've tempered this situation. It's gone through some challenges. You've taken them on, you beat them, and you're still in this game, whatever it happens to be. Sevens. So it's time tested now. There's confidence there. And with that comes the eights. We advance. Eights are advancement. And you move forward even more with this advancement. And nines are attainment. Attainment of the ultimate peak of what this quest was, this goal was, is the nines. You've attained it. And then tens are the completion. Everything comes to an end. Start of one cycle, the beginning of another cycle. So it's an end of something, but it's also the beginning of something, a new thing. So ace through 10, everything we do, we go through those stages. And when somebody comes to a reading for you, they are usually in one of those stages on a situation. Usually it'll be the fives, there's some change happen, some new challenge here. And they want to know how they're going to deal with this. Or it's the fours, things are very stable, and they're bored to death with it. And they want to change. They want something to shake up. And they don't know how they're going to do it. They're stuck in this routine. They're in a rut. Because stability could be a rut. All depends how you take that keyword and use it. So you can see where keywords can be used in a lot of different ways. They're not specific. And you can see how you could use the keyword in a way that makes sense to the situation we're looking into. And the court cards, a lot of people talk about the court cards, like they're confused about what they are. Court cards used to be considered people in the reading. So they had two meanings. They had a meaning, and then they could also be people. Now most of the decks have people in all the cards. When they had just pip cards, like my Marseille deck or any Marseille deck, there's pip cards, and then you have the 4 court cards of each suit. Well, those were the only cards with people in them, and the majors. So they were people cards. Now there's people in all the cards. So what I have for meanings on the 4 court cards are: kings represent knowledge. Queens represent patience and understanding. Knights represent action. And pages represent a new path or a new direction. And that's it. So now when somebody comes to you for a reading, you know where they're at because they're telling you the situation. Let's say they're in the fives. It's a big change happening. And not only you know where they're at, but you know where they've been, ace through 4, and you know where they're headed, 6 through 10. Because that's the direction we all go through. You're going to surprise yourself and find out that as a reader, you're going to see that a lot of the things we go through are very common with everybody else. Might be different names, different situation, but it's the same basic directions we're trying to go in. 4 cards I want to clear up on those meanings too, that people always have questions with as students. And that's if you got the Rider-Waite deck, that's the 8, 9, 10, and 3 of swords. Now I started with a pip deck, the Marseille deck. So you have the 8 of swords. It's just 8 swords. Represents advancement to me. If you look at the pictures on the cards of the Rider-Waite deck, you'll see that these cards, the 8s look like advancement, except for the swords. You have a woman bound and blindfolded. And people say, well, how do you see that as advancement? Well, advancement is still the issue. Here we have somebody who's being restrained from advancing. There's a block against this advancement, but advancement is the issue. We have to find a way to advance. Yes, there's something holding us back. But advancement is what we're looking at. How are we going to advance? Something stopping us, something holds back. What do we have to do to loosen that up? Advancement is still what's in question here. The 8 of swords shows a lack of advancement. Now, if you're using a pip deck, you don't have those images. It's up to me to decide how I'm going to interpret 8 or advancements. When you're using a deck like the Rider-Waite deck, there's a picture on there implying that this is a negative card, 8 of swords. But if you learn what a pip deck, you know that that's one of many types of issues that can be represented as an advancement issue. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a negative card. It's just a snapshot of a type of issue concerning advancement. The Nine of Swords shows a woman sobbing in the middle of the night in her bed. Nines are attainment. And you say, well, how can you see that as an attainment? Not everything we attain is, it might be something that's very valuable to know or to have, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a pleasant attainment. You could have coming out of denial, coming to terms with something, facing the facts, an awareness of some sad truth just happened. You just got a phone call. You have attained something that's not happy. It's challenging to you, but you still attained it. So not all attainments are happy. They're challenging. In the long run, we might become better from it, but in the meantime, it could be a very hard thing to deal with. An example of that would be somebody who's coming to terms with the fact they're an addict, and this is a harsh reality to them, and they realize they need help. They've attained that realization. And tens are the completion. Again, a pip deck, 10 swords, Rider-Waite, you have a guy laying in the face down with 10 swords in his back. One of the most disturbing cards in the deck. I tell people, well, you should just kill yourself. Tens are a completion. And so if you're using a pip deck, completions are wonderful things. Well, they can be sad things too. But a lot of completions are wonderful things. And the Rider-Waite deck and decks like that, they're not shown as a pleasant thing on the Ten of Swords. But it's a completion. And that card can represent something like retirement, graduation, something good. And people say, well, how do you see that in the card? I say, well, that's just one image of what it could be. I said, it could be something unpleasant. A loss, a loved one would be a completion. But we're dealing with a completion here. Now, a pip deck allows you to, it takes in all types of different types of completions without being biased one way or another. Where a deck with images that are specific on them just shows one snapshot of a completion or one snapshot of an attainment, an advancement, things like that. You can only show one at a time. But there's many. Say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And a word could be worth 1,000 pictures. That's only one picture on that card, and they can't change it. But there's other pictures they could use to define the meaning of that card. Pleasant ones and sad ones. The last one is the Three of Swords. Is three swords going through a heart. And threes are creativity. And you say, well, how do you see that as creative? Well, creativity can be, you have to get creative about something that's not pleasant. You have to improvise here on something that you don't want to do, but we have to. Maybe a loss in the family, and now the siblings or the children have to figure out how they're going to divide everything up when their mother died. They have to get creative to make it fair for everybody, that type of thing. A divorce, you're going through a divorce, you have to sit at the kitchen table and discuss this and work it out where it's fair for everybody. And that's a unpleasant, creative exercise. You're getting creative, and it could be hurtful. But Three is on a pip deck is just creativity. Doesn't have to be three of swords. This is just three swords, and they could be a pleasant one or a sad one. You're getting creative. That's all. There's good and bad to both decks. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's no bad to any deck, but they're seen differently, and you have to keep that in mind as you're reading. That if you're looking at pictures, beautiful artwork in a lot of decks today, and if you're looking at that, you got to remember that that artwork is just one snapshot of the key word meaning of this deck. So that's how you see the minor arcana. The major arcana is a lot more difficult, even though it's one word meanings. There's no rhyme or reason to the ace through 10 part. There's not some order there, but they are easy to. You can still memorize them very easily, but it's a little bit more involved. Good way to remember those cards is I would take the Fool card, put it up by itself. That's number 0. Then you have numbers 1 through 21. Take 1 through 7, make a row left to right. Underneath that, take a row of 8 through 14. And then under that, 15 through 21. And because you're seeing them in rows like this, it makes it easier to know where they're placed in the order, that you can now memorize their meanings better. There are just one keyword meanings to these cards. And so but if you have them in an order like that, it helps with those meanings. It helps you memorize them. Again, we're using keyword meanings here with these cards. And so what I have here, the Fool I have is carefree or believing is another keyword. You could change these, anything you really want them to be. So I have the Fool is carefree. Sometimes I'll change that depending on what's a couple years from now. I might change that. Before I used to have believing. The Fool believes. Nothing wrong with believing. Sometimes the Fool pays off to believe. The Fool is a carefree spirit and very trusting, naive. Sometimes that's good. So believing or carefree for the Fool. And then for the Magician, I have awareness or consciousness. Either one of those would be a good keyword. The High Priestess, I have subconsciousness or I have mystery. The Empress is like the threes on the minor arcana. I have creativity for the Empress. The Emperor, I have the builder or leadership. You could use either one of those for a keyword for that card, and it'll work out just fine. The Hierophant, I have guidance. The Lovers, I have duality. Both sides. You could also put that as choice, like the twos in the minor arcana. The old Marseille decks, it wasn't called the Lovers, it was called the Lover. And he had to make a choice between two women. And that's why I call that the choice card too. But you could use duality. The Chariot, I have confidence. Goes in line with the sevens in the minor arcana. Confidence. Justice, number 8. On a Marseille deck, it would be strength on number 8 on the Marseille deck. But here I'm just going to use 8 as justice. Doesn't make any difference. Justice I have is truth. The Hermit I have is soul searching, because you can't take anybody with you on that. You have to do it by yourself. The Wheel I have is evolvement. The wheel turns, we improve. And then 11, I have strength, which a lot of decks is 8. I have that as inner strength, willpower, inner strength. The Hangman is number 12, and I have that as sacrifice. Sometimes you have to sacrifice to get a point across or to prove a point or to get anywhere, there has to be sacrifices made. Next is death. I have transition. Temperance, I said earlier, is inspiration. Angels inspire us. It's an angel pouring water from one urn to another. The devil I have is false truths, number 15. If you do those rows, the devil will be the first card in the bottom row. The next card is the Tower, number 16, and that is disruption. You could also have rude awakening. 17 is the Star card, and that's direction. A direction, following your star. 18 is the Moon, mysterious paths. Going down a path you've never been before. Feeling your way through. 19 is the Sun. That's nurturing. A nurturing situation. 20 is judgment. New awareness is judgment. And 21 is the World. And I have peace and harmony for the World card. So anyway, these work out very well, but you could also see where these keyword meanings, if you think about the Hierophant card, guidance, what words would come to you that represent guidance? And you're going to come up with, each one of you are going to come up with your own unique words for that. Could be advice, could be counseling, could be example, experience, could be a guide. So there's all sorts of different types of guidance. I'd like to show you this too, the Tarot Marseille Keyword Edition by Patici. It's a larger than standard formatted deck. This is a standard tarot deck. This is larger. Not much, but a little bit. And what I did with this is my deck, my Tarot Marseille, which is this deck right here. My Tarot Marseille by Patici, which is available on my website. I took the keyword meanings and I used my Marseille deck. But you can see, here's the Queen. Queen of Cups. And in that card, you'll see these all sorts of keywords that come up for that card. And they're based on patience and understanding. That's what queens are. Here's the 10 of Cups. Keywords for the 10 of Cups. And so words like I have completion for tens. So I have complete here. I have finality, standing ovation, completion, the climax, destination, pinnacle, home, ultimate, accomplishment, reunion, new start, generosity, gratitude, acceptance, complete cycle, totality, enjoyed, achieved, encompassing. These are words that I have for the 10 of Cups. Now, the other 10 in here, the other 10s that are in here will have different words than that one, but they're based on the word completion as well. And I've done that with all the cards in here. And so if you're trying to get a feel for for what the cards can mean, I would suggest this keyword deck would be very helpful. I also have the keywords in my books, along with the mapped out keyword meanings like on these cards in my books, Bare Bones Tarot, Essential Tarot, and Radical Tarot. And so you might like that too. So anyway, I hope you like this. I'll have those two links down below for my tarot card meanings, definitions, other YouTubes. And Keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon. Bye.